Yeah, I can remember back to before I started doing this work, and what I mean by that is there basically been two parts of my life: the before age 43 and after age 43. And there was a moment, right? I got terminated from my last job on March 18th, 2016, and on April 1st, 2016 is really when I got to work, like trying to figure out who I was going to be for the rest of my life and who I wanted to be when I grew up. Because what I had done from age 0 to 43 basically made me suicidal, and the way I showed up physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, the way I was showing up in the world, just it wasn't working anymore, and it expired. And I was ready. When you pull the barrel of the gun out of your mouth, you realize that everything that you've ever learned and everything that you think is true and everything that you believe to be real, everything that you believe to be valuable, everything that you believe to be truth has gotten you there. So, when you do pull the barrel out of your mouth, it's like you get to reinvent yourself and re-experience everything, and that includes dropping all the beliefs, all the thoughts, all your connection, the way you identify in the world, who you think you are, like what your God changes, everything, how you interact with yourself, how you interact with other people, everything changes, because if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. And hopefully you've heard that saying a couple times on this podcast and in some of the episodes. If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. In order to get somewhere different in your life, you have to be someone different than you're being right now. In order to have something different in your life, you need to do and be something different than you've been up to this point. And when I decided not to take my own life, and I decided that I was going to do something different, I got the opportunity to drop everything I ever thought was true about humanity and about existence. And I got to embark on the process of rediscovering everything. And I learned some valuable insights. And I see these things showing up now. This was the path that I took, 7 years ago. Now I get to see how some of my new students, although, they're not suicidal by any means, when I see newer students, I see them in the same patterns and in the same dramas, and in the connected to the same beliefs, some of the same beliefs and some of the same ways of showing up, and I get to help them shift differently. And in this episode, what I really want to unpack, I've got a speaking engagement this coming weekend. I'm going to be one of the keynote speakers at Gateway to Freedom in St. Louis, Missouri, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm the last speaker in the second day of the event. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, Real Estate Investor Conference. There's virtual tickets are available. I'll put the link in the show notes if you're interested. But when I see someone in a little bit of a state of chaos, right? You could say a little bit of a state of chaos. I typically just start asking questions and start unpacking what's going on in their mind and in their body. And here's what I've learned. And again, I can experience this from my own life. So this isn't just about other people. It's about my experience with my own humanity. No matter when we're in a little state of chaos, when we're a lot of state of chaos, but even when we're in a little state of chaos, we don't surrender. When there's chaos, we haven't really surrendered to what we really want in life. Now, I'm going to say that differently, because this isn't a simple concept to understand. If you want to be successful, let's say you want to increase the level of success that you have in your life, and you know what you want. Like my simple vision for my mastermind is 100 students and $1 million in sales in my mastermind, right? Very, very simple in my business. Very simple, very quantifiable, very objective. 100 students, $1 million in sales annually. That's the goal. That's the objective. Now, if there's any doubts, if there's any thoughts that I might fall short, if there's any thoughts that that might not happen, if there are any thoughts that that's not possible, if there are any thoughts that, well, what if it doesn't happen? If there are any thoughts that are anything but completely aligned and tied to 100 students and $1 million in sales, if there's any negative influence in my mind or my body, then I'm withholding trust. I'm not surrendered to the goal. I'm not surrendered to the path that I'm embarking on. If you want to create wealth and you want, let's say, let's just throw some numbers out. You want to create, $10 million in net worth, financial net worth, and all that financial net worth is you take what you own and subtract what you owe. And the difference is your financial net worth. And let's say you want a financial net worth of $10 million, right? Let's say any thoughts that you might not get there, any thoughts that you might go broke, any thoughts that you're going to lose it all, any thoughts that there's some force in the world that's keeping it away from you, any thoughts, any feelings, any beliefs that it's not possible, probable, whatever for you, it is you not being surrendered to that goal. And the bigger percentage of time you spend thinking about the goal instead of thinking about what would happen without the goal, or the more time you spend, the larger percentage of time you spend focused on the yes of that and the possibility and the potential and the probability and the likelihood and the certainty of that, like the more percentage of your mind share you put towards what you want, and the smaller amount of time that you spend thinking about what you don't want, the greater the probability that you will actually create it. This is very simple, but it's simple, but not easy. See, we have this fear-based mind, and we have this amygdala that's trying to keep us alive. And the amygdala, the most primitive, premature, I don't know, part of our brain. I shouldn't say premature, but immature part of our anatomy is called the amygdala, and it has one goal, one function in life, and it's to keep you alive. And as long as you're alive, it's doing its job, and it doesn't care if you're happy, and it doesn't care if you're wealthy, and it doesn't care if you're successful. But there's a lot of people on the face of this planet that are living their lives through a hijacked amygdala. That amygdala is literally running their life, and they are waking up every single day to avoid what they don't want instead of create what they want. And the more your amygdala is in charge, the more you are being hijacked by your amygdala, the more you are being hijacked by the shadows, by the doubt, by the worry, by the fears. The more time you spend with it connected to what you don't want, the more likely it is that you will experience it. And when you are surrendered to what you do want, you let go of any need to ever think about or connect or worry or ponder or contemplate what it would be like to not have it. We were in my inner circle, we were engrossed in a spirited conversation about financial management. And I am not interested in being the financial manager of my financial net worth. So I've hired people. I've hired a company, someone I trust, and someone who I know oversees my finances, someone I know has my best interest in mind, someone I know who values me, not just my business, but who values me and who's looking out for my best interest. And what that means is I can take my full attention away from managing my financial affairs, because I know it's in great hands. And every year we sit down, or if there's changes that he wants to make, we sit down and we discuss what those changes are and we align. But in the absence of that active conversation, I know that they're in good hands. And some of the people in my inner circle were like, no, you need to be actively involved all the time. And you need to micromanage your finances. And I was like, no, I'm not interested in managing my finances, micromanaging my finances. At a big picture, absolutely. But at a micro, why would I hire somebody if I'm gonna manage them at the micro level? That doesn't make any sense. And in some cases, the response was, well, why do you even have a financial manager? Why don't you just do it yourself? Like, because I'm not interested in managing my finances. I don't have any interest. I'm not inspired to manage my portfolio, but I've hired someone who is inspired to manage my portfolio. But what if some unforeseen thing pops up and then you lose it all? Well, what if I just know that I won't lose it all? What if I just think about what I do want instead of what I don't want? What if I just believe that nothing drastic will happen to my finances? What if I just believe that they're in good hands? And what if I just believe that everything's always going to work out for me all the time? And what if I just believe, and what if I just connect and believe and surrender to what I want instead of what I don't want? If I live a life of guardedness and protection and defensiveness, I'm playing not to lose, I'm not playing to win. And I want to play to win. I don't want to play the game to not lose. And thinking about what you don't want, believing what you don't want, thinking there's a possibility of what you don't want might sound naive. It might sound naively optimistic, but trust me, the more you think about what you don't want, the more you're going to get it. So why wouldn't I think the highest thought? Why wouldn't I believe the highest belief? And why don't I just create that instead of what I don't want? And listen, I know this sounds grossly optimistic, and I'm not giving you any financial advice. But what I have seen and what I have witnessed, not just in my life, but in the lives of new students and in the minds of new students, is we withhold a portion of our trust and a portion of our belief and a portion of our commitment to having what we want, just in case it doesn't happen. And the more you withhold the trust and the faith and the commitment to having what you want, the more likely it is that you won't. And the more you trust and have faith and commit to have what you want at the expense of what you don't want, and leave that behind and leave the possibility that that will even happen, the more you connect with what you want instead of what you don't want, the more likely it is to happen. But we reserve, maybe it's 25%, maybe it's 33%, but we reserve sometimes when we're living unconsciously, when we don't understand how powerful thought is and how powerful belief is, and when we don't understand that our beliefs create our reality and that our beliefs create our outcomes and our thoughts shape our beliefs and our beliefs create what we experience in the world. When we don't understand that, we think it's okay to reserve 25 to 33% or 50% of our brain share and just devote that percentage to what we don't want. And in the process, we think we're going to become happier by thinking about what we don't want and planning for the possibility of what we don't want. And the more we plan for the possibility of what we don't want, the more likely we're going to get what we don't want. And it doesn't make any fucking sense to me. So why wouldn't I be naively optimistic in that situation? But what happens if the economy? I'm in it for the long haul, not for the hour by hour results of this thing. The more you focus on what you want, the more likely you are to get it. The more you focus on what you don't want, the more likely it is to happen. The more percentage of your time you spend in absolute certainty that you are creating the life that you want, the more likely, probable you are to experience it. But don't let people that are living in fear, in a defensive position, from a defensive nature, from a protectionist point of view, living from their amygdala, living out of fight, flight, or freeze, living out of their primitive freaking parts of their anatomy that are only survivalists and not creation. Don't let those people tell you that you need to live out of fear too. Let them live out of fear and let them be miserable. But it doesn't mean you have to be. Because see, here's what I've witnessed in my newer life. The more naively optimistic I am, the more things go my way. And the more naively optimistic I am about what I want, the more I get it. The more ignorant I am to the possibility that something might go wrong, the less they go wrong. But the more I understand what I want in this world, get crystal clear about it, become super certain, and drop the possibility and the probability and the likelihood or the even chance, remote chance, that it might not happen. The more I let that shit go, the more this beautiful existence like reshapes itself around me, and the happier like my life is. And you might call that naively optimistic. And you know what I call it? I call it happy. And I'd rather be happy than guarded and defensive and protectionist and fear-based. I would rather be happy. And there's a beauty and there's a joy in being naively optimistic. Listen, most of this planet is living from a place of fear. Most of this planet. And most of the people on the planet will tell you that is the right way to live. But don't let miserable people teach you how to live a happy life. Just like if you're looking to reshape your health, you're not going to go and find an obese person and ask them health advice. If you're looking for advice from happy or learn how to be happy, you go ask happy people. If you just want to learn how to create wealth, you go and ask wealthy people. You don't ask poor people how to create wealth. You don't ask miserable people how to be happy. And you don't ask serial divorcees for marital advice. But what you do is get crystal clear on what you want and surrender to it. And the more you surrender to what you want and let go every time a worry, a doubt, a fear pops up, that's in contrast to what you want, let it go. Any emotion, any feeling, any belief, anything that's in your way, anything that's playing antagonist in your life inside of you can be let go. And the more you focus on what you want at the expense of what you don't want, the more likely you are to experience it in this world. Because you can't, like, at the Gateway to Freedom conference, started going down that path. But at the Gateway to Freedom conference, the keynote that I'm going to give is poor mind, poor life, rich mind, rich life. I'm also doing a free virtual training across my socials on November 15th at noon Central Time by the same title, Poor Mind, Poor Life, Rich Mind, Rich Life. When you let go of the thoughts of poverty, you will create wealth. When you let go of the thoughts of failure, you will create success. When you let go of the feelings and the thoughts of misery and of fear and of worry and of doubt, you will create happiness in your life. But you can't think about what you don't want and still get what you do want. Guys, I hope this helps. I hope it reframes some things. I am naively optimistic. And at the same time, I have all the money I need and I'm happy as fuck. Where are you in your wealth and happiness? Not wealth or happiness, wealth and happiness. Because what's the benefit of having money if you're not enjoying it? What's the benefit of living if you're not having the time of your life?